Hey yo, what's going on? Welcome back to another video. Today is a different type of video. People might say it's a little crafting type of video, but there's been a lot of conversations about there being a shortage in masks, and companies are now asking small businesses to see if they're able to help with making masks if you're into that. So I thought the video would help by showing you guys how to make a face mask to help out our nurses, our people that's out there fighting this coronavirus. So what I'm going to do here is take an attempt with my sewing machine and see what we can do to help out. So let me switch the camera view and you can see exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, so what you would need, materials that you would need is of course your sewing machine. This can also be done with a needle and thread just by hand. And we're gonna need some type of fabric. For me, I have two fabrics here. I have a African type cloth here. I have some type of fabric here. Used to be a pillowcase that I just tore up and had laying around. And then I had a disposable mask that I just took out of the pack here that I'm going to use as a pattern. So we're going to use this to cut out our fabric and then sew it together using the machine. And you're also going to need some type of elastic. As you can see, my elastic right here is like a hairband and that I found laying around. It's probably my daughter. She's probably going to be looking for it, but don't tell her. So to get started, we're going to take our fabric, and I've already gone ahead and cut out this one here. Okay, so whatever we did to this, we're going to do with this one, because we're going to make this a reversible mask. So I'm going to take my fabric and take the mask. So the mask comes in like that. You want to fold the mask up and spread it. So by expanding it like this, that gives you the right size that it would be when you're wearing it. So this is for adult mask. So if you were doing kids mask, you would still expand it, but not as much. You won't open it all the way. You just hold it a little bit so it's just sized right for the kid's face. Next, we're going to lay our pattern on here, aka our mask, after we fold our fabric in half. And you want to trace this. So you want to just trace around the mask here to make your pattern. So what I'm doing is bringing it from edge to edge. That way I have this little curve going here, and I'm going to trace. So I got a pencil here. I'm going to trace my mask. Doing like a ½ an inch from the edge here, just to give you some room when folding. Just on the side. Okay, and then you'll do the same thing here. Just trace around it. So I'm not a professional seamstress or a tailor or whatever, but I did take sewing class in high school, so that's where I'm getting this knowledge from. So now we have our pattern. As you can see, we have our pattern right there on our fabric. We're just gonna grab our scissors now and cut. You wanna cut this up around it until the image is all cut out. It helps to have nice fabric scissors. So this that I'm using is not a fabric scissors, but it's going to work for what we need to do right now. So now we're done with that, and we have our pattern piece. So this is our pattern here. This inner piece Actually, it's part of the blanket there. Where we'll use it and see what what it end up being like. So this is what we got, and I got two of them. Sure, as you can see, I have two of the same size pattern. So right now with our sewing machine, you're gonna have to make sure your sewing machine is sewn. You got a bobbin in there, everything. Look at your manual to figure out. So we're gonna take our fabric, depending on what type of fabric you're using. If yours is reversible, that's fine. If it's just one-sided, that's fine. But this one here, I'm actually gonna turn it in on the wrong side, and I'm gonna sew the edges here. So from basically where the fold is to the opening. So now that one side is good, just gonna take this and pull it. Just cut that. So now it looks something like this, where you have your edges folded, okay, and then you just have the opening here. That's how you're gonna join them together, and you're gonna sew that. So let's do the same thing to the next fabric here. So now we have our next pattern here, and I'm just going to do the same thing. So now we have both our patterns all stitched up on the edge side. I'm just cleaning up some of these threads over here. Just clean it up a little bit. Okay, so this is what we got. We got our pattern, and then our next pattern. So next you're gonna put both patterns together, or both fabrics together, on facing the right side. So right side facing the other right side. So now with your fabric together like that, you're gonna sew the edges here on the top and on the bottom. Don't do anything to the sides yet, just the top and the bottom. Now we're gonna repeat the same thing on the top part here. Okay, so now we have both pieces sewn together on the top and the bottom, but your sides are still open. Okay, your sides are. All right, so now that we got both sides, you want to just flip them inside, like to the right side. Just take your time. Just carefully flip them over. So you have something looking like this. Okay. So for the next part here is where you add your elastic. So depending on how you want to style it or wear it, some masks go behind the head. It go behind the head, or then there are others that goes behind the ear. So it just depends how you want to insert your mask. If you want to do it from ear to ear, like to go behind the ear, you're going to put your loop here. Okay, but if you're going to do it around the head, you want to put your loop, your elastic this way. So for this demonstration, I think we're going to put our elastic behind the head. So we're going to do our elastic this way. So to add your elastic, see the sides here, you want to tuck them in a little bit so you have a nice clean edge. All right, because you can see right now it's a little rough. So if you just tuck them in a little bit, this part could get a little challenging if you're not like a tailor or a seamstress. It could be hard, but just take your time and get this thing in there. Sometimes it's easier to even use a needle or a pin. So if you use a pin, you're able to pin that part down there. But for right now, all we need is just to close up this edge, and then we're gonna put our elastic right there at the corner. Doing this, sometimes your thread is gonna break and you gotta re-thread it. So at this point I'm gonna switch to see if we can do this with just the straight needle on for the sides. So you can see that this whole thing can actually be done by just your hand, where if you don't have a sewing machine, you can still do this by just sewing the edges. The hardest part about it is probably where I'm at right now, trying to thread the needle. If you have shaky hands like me, you might struggle, but eventually you're gonna get it. Okay, so I have my needle here, and the easiest way I found what I learned a long time ago to tie the knot in on the needle is if you like double thread it, or if you wrap the thread around the needle like that, the edge, and then take it and pass it underneath and pull that, it gives you a knot. So now you got a knot on the edge of your thread. Or you can just tie a regular knot. You don't have to be as difficult or technical as I did it. Start by just going through, getting that in, and then I like to come over so you have a little like a hook or a tie, a loop here, just to tie the edges there. Boom. And now at this point you can just sew your way through now. I haven't done this in so long and it's crazy. So at the next part here, I'm just gonna bring this part over and tuck it in here in the opening, tuck it in there, and then you have something like this. So we got both our elastics in. We ended up hand sewing that part. I'm just gonna finish up the edges on on the finish up the edges here on the sewing machine. So at this point, our mask is all done. Just a matter of cleaning up all the excess threads off of here, and it should be good to go. As you can see, this is our finished result of our mask. We do have our edges are not great, but again, we're not professional. We just did this so you can get the concept of the video and add on your rest. Add on to it, add on and see what else you can do. You could have done this going around the ear, but instead of going around the head, and yep, that's how you do it. And this is reversible. You can totally switch it around. As you can see, just like that, you can flip it inside out depending on how you want to do it. And the pattern is exactly what makes this thing. You can use a nice decorative pattern, and you can do something with characters for kids. But at the end of the day, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, go ahead, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.